Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you another Grotmish redo. I've been going back through the Grotmish detachments that, um, I've been down on and seeing if there's anything salvageable from them. And in the case of Hearthband, I think actually so far everything's salvageable. Like I was just completely wrong about Nurgle and other ones like I found things to make work, but I think Hearthband, if you allow me to explain as a non-Votann player, Votann player, um, I think that there's actually very fair trade-offs here, and why you probably don't need to interact with your army rule the same way you would with Oathband. So I'm going to go through a couple of things, hopefully give a different perspective of how this detachment might function, sometimes even better than Oathband, and take it or leave it, whatever you want to do. But I haven't seen anybody try it or talk about it, so I'm going to at least talk about it since I probably won't try it as a non-Votann player. So, Hearthband. Each time a Leagues of Votann model from your army makes an attack with a weapon, excluding blast weapons that targets the closest eligible target, or a target that is within engagement range of that model's unit, reroll a hit roll of 1. If your unit is a Call, Einherjar, Hearthguard, or Uthar the Destined unit, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. So, a few things to start off. Reroll hit rolls of 1, functions for most weapons the same as +1 to hit, which you would get from judgment tokens. So that's thing number one of where's my judgment tokens? Um, this essentially makes it so that you don't necessarily need that per se. And then going to the +1 AP characteristic, this is actually going to be better in some cases for the grand scheme of things. I'll talk about where you're missing the +1 to wound. Right now, actually. I was going to say that for a second, but I think now is just as fine. If you look at this detachment as the call detachment, if you know what a call does, we'll get to that in a second. If you look at this as a call detachment, you will immediately get better value than the traditional Oathband list. Because a call, while this model is leading a unit, weapons equipped by models in that unit have lethal hits. So having lethal hits and re-rolling ones already makes that better. Now, you compare that to being +1 to hit that you would be passing out in Oathband and lethal hits, it doesn't have the same stick to it, and because again you're going for lethals in call units, the +1 to wound also doesn't necessarily need to kick in. However, when you do have judgment tokens on something, such as using the caller's Grim Efficiency, and once per battle round in your command phase, you can select one model from your army with this ability, select one enemy unit visible to that model, they gain a judgment token. So now, for the low cost of a call, onto a unit, of course, whatever you're going into has you have reroll hit rolls of 1, +1 to hit at just 1 judgment token, lethal hits, and +1 AP. So again, that second part of +1 to wound doesn't need to kick in, and then when it does, +1 to hit, +1 to wound, reroll hit rolls of 1, +1 AP, lethal hits. Right? That's just the gist of why I see that they didn't give you a bunch of fucking judgment tokens in Hearthband. Now, that covers that part, right? I put this here and my sloppy recording the first few. I fucked up the recording a couple of times, but neither here nor there. I had that there, and I was going to just go through that, but bam. And then also with Oathband, as we can already see the translation as to why you don't necessarily need to pass out judgment tokens because it's already getting a very equivalent trade-off with lethal hits that have rerolls now. So you don't need to rely on the +1 to hit, +1 wound to do amounts of damage, and then the AP will help you get that damage through. So going on to the next part of Oathband, though, if at the start of any of your command phases, any of those units have been destroyed, you gain a number of CP depending on how early in the battle you destroyed it, and, you know, on the whole Judgment Token situation. So where's the CP coming from in Hearthband? It's coming from the fact you don't need to spend it like you would in Oathband. What do I mean? So, Warrior Pride is how you would be getting additional AP. And this is only in the fight phase. Now, if you have additional AP outside of the fight phase and shooting, and as well as in the fight phase, you don't need to spend a CP as well as having a judgment token on a target to get that bonus AP. Now, mind you, it will cap at 1 and for specific units. But that's a trade-off in comparison to any unit while also needing judgment tokens and in the fight phase, right? So that's where that equals out, if not is better than Warrior Pride, just from the detachment rule alone. Reactive Reprisal is a 2 CP stratagem that doesn't really have an equivalent, so if you're just missing that, you're missing that. Ordered Retreat does have an equivalent here over in Hearthband, into which it is Unyielding Aggression, where you also get Fallback Shooting Charge, Movement Phase, okay? So that equals out for the one. Newfound Nemesis. This is another way to then give judgment tokens onto enemies if they reduce your Leagues of Votann infantry or mounted below half strength. You pop a CP to keep a judgment token going. Because in this, you are determined and need to get that +1 to hit with the judgment token and then possibly the +1 to wound. You need that over here in Oathband. However, in Hearthband, once again, re-rolling hit rolls of 1 just gives you that equivalency. And we'll talk about how it actually probably factors out math-wise to be more efficient in Hearthband. For certain units, again, of course, right? And certain situations. Ancestral Sentence, you can get up to Sustained Hits 2 if they have Judgment tokens. And the closest thing over here is Fury of the Hearth, into which the shooting phase, Rapid Fire 1. Also, I want to talk about real quick the reason that Blast got excluded. Yeah, I kind of see why they didn't do Blast weapons, because Rapid Fire 1 on Hearthguard that have, let's just say for the fuck of it, 10 models, 10d6, rapid fire 1 blast lethals, re-rolling ones if they allowed it up here too, would be a bit absurd. +1 AP. That would be way too cracked. So that's kind of why they haven't done that there. Yeah, so I understand now the restriction of why they said, yeah, don't go for blast weapons on some of these things. So to that extent, Ancestral Sentence can be better, especially if it applies to one Leagues of Votann unit from your army in general. So that is a straight up, I guess, loss. But again, how bad is it? I don't know. And then Void Armor, all the Armor of Contempt like things got worse. It's now just to the end of the phase. Meanwhile, in Hearthband, at least you keep your 4 up invuln until the end of the phase. Sorry, Hearthband Void Armor is now going to be until the end of that attacking unit's attacks. This didn't update. So, Armor of Contempt got worse, so maybe you want the 4 up invulnerable save until the end of the phase more than anything, right? Now, that's the equivalencies as to why you're probably not spending the CP. And then, one thing that I failed to mention in a previous of these recordings is that I focused a lot on the shooting aspect, which I already knew it still applied to the fight phase, but just real quick so I don't forget again. You have things like bonus AP and re-rolling ones to hit in the fight phase, and you have something like Sure of Purpose to give you pile in or consolidate, which is really cracked, of up to 6 inches. That means when you use a CP to make either one of these moves, or both of those moves in the same turn for one unit, you get to fucking slingshot across the fucking way. So this is really good, and then in combination with the fact that it is in engagement range. And it's interesting that they specified or within, or a target that is within engagement range, because at first, or I guess not at first, at second or third, when I was going through this, and well, if you make a double charge, you can hit both of those units. But if you're not making a double charge, you just made a normal charge, and then you pile in backslash consolidate into another fucking unit that might not have been your first target, right? It's not the closest eligible target. It is within engagement range. You don't have to necessarily worry about, oh, if I scoot here, right, whatever. You're still going to be getting the benefits of reroll hit rolls of 1 and +1 AP. So the call lethal hits on all the weapons equipped by models in the unit, reroll 1s, +1 AP. So again, if you just look at this as the call detachment, this gets significantly better. Now, looking at it from a Hearthguard perspective, yeah, you can have Edikar and plasma guns that have 24-inch range, rerolling 1s, hitting on 3s, and with Grim Efficiency, hitting on 2s, right? Or any judgment tokens, not just Grim Efficiency. Hitting on 2s, Strength 8, AP 4, damage 2. Yeah, that's pretty nice. As well as having exo armor grenade launchers that are blast, again, if max models, right? 10d6 lethals. You won't get the rerolls or the bonus AP, but lethals onto this profile is pretty nice. But then before, I fuck this up again, you still have reroll hits, lethals, +1 AP, taking this to like AP3 and this to AP2, AP3 of course, right? Rerolling lethals. So that also explains to me why in the first take I wondered about superior craftsmanship. I was like, well, why isn't this just +1 to wound? In the fight phase, why would I not just want +1 to wound into a monster or vehicle? Well, with lethal hits, I don't need the +1 to wound, so I'd much rather take the damage, especially because it's in the fight phase, so I am within engagement range, so I'm rerolling hit rolls of 1 and the bonus AP. So I'm probably cracking monsters and vehicles unironically with those reroll 1s, so I do want the damage here. Now, if that means that you're just not getting, CP from a location in here, yeah, that is the trade-off there, but for that to say, I don't think you actually need to pop this that often. I think the rerolls and lethals would be fine enough that you don't need to factor in the additional damage, unless it is something like a Votann, I guess, where it halves damage, or Avatar of Cain. Then you get into the situation like, I miss the extra 1 damage on the weapons. Then it gets a little bit funky. So, in short, call MVP, Einherjar Hearthguard, probably the unit you're taking. And going to the closest eligible target thing while still having judgment tokens out of Grim Efficiency and just playing Votann. This allows you to not have to put the judgment token on each of the targets you want to go into. So you can put a judgment token onto a unit that you are about to blast off across the way, like that's maybe a screen that is technically not the closest unit to you, and you weren't going to get the benefits anyway. Right, you do still have the option of being +1 to hit with a judgment token over there, dump all the shots, and then the one that you are closest into, you can fire things like the Edikar and plasma gun into that and get the rerolls and the AP. Alright, so it saves you needing more judgment tokens in more ways than one. That's just a split fire situation because they are equipped with both the plasma gun and the grenade launcher and just this Hearthguard demonstration. But that's that. So, yeah, not to say that it's the best, and there are things you could do, but now you don't need to do them, per se. Going on to Warriors, just to bring them in the fact that, well, you can bring them instead of some Hearthguard to attach to a call, maybe. Give you sticky, using all these profiles, still get lethals, bonus AP. It's nice. So a cheaper route, 100 points. If you just want to dump out warriors, maybe attach those to calls. I don't really think this is the thing you go for. But if you are wondering about how to get more judgment tokens, here you go. Just sacrifice some Hearthkin warriors. Uthar the Destined has devastating wounds. So again, how badly did I need +1 to wound when I can get reroll hits and then bonus AP? So whatever wound that does happen is now AP4 for Uthar, who can go with Earthkin Warriors. Now, would you get a lot from it? Now, if anything, what I'm looking at it, I don't think it's necessarily that the army rule has to change that bad. I think that you have to pull a sisters now, into which you lean into the models that provide judgment token, such as Kaos and Uthar. And to that point, though, it would be nice if they fix this. So once per battle round, you can select one enemy unit that is visible to this model +1 judgment token instead of one model from your army with this ability. That makes it too restrictive. If you just let at max, of course, that would be 4 things with Grim Efficiency, I believe. Um, Stack tokens that way, it'd be fine, and you just be a okay. So yeah, Hearthband already not too bad actually. Then going to something like the Hecaton Land Fortress, in your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit is scored 1 or more hits against this phase until the end of the phase. Each time a friendly model that disembarked from this transport this turn makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, you can reroll the wound roll. You already see where I'm going with this. Reroll hits of 1, reroll entire wound roll after coming out of a Hecaton Land Fortress. And the Land Fortress itself, while it will not be getting the +1 AP, if it is the closest target and not using a blast weapon, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for things like well, they have a heavy Magna Rail Cannon if that's closest, but more so likely the SP Heavy Conversion Beamer and the Twin Bolt Cannon or Twin Ion Beamers, which has sustained. So, giving your Hecaton Land Fortress a way to get rerolls when it has sustains is pretty nice. And the things that come out of it, reroll hits, wounds, lethals, you already know the whole shebang. I don't need to keep saying that one too much. On top of the fact, the target can still have something like a judgment token on it from Grim Efficiency, so making this +1 hit into it as well. You can. And that goes again to the efficiency part that I'm just now thinking about, where if the thing that you got out of the Hecaton Land Fortress with, right? And you can select one enemy unit, that doesn't mean you have to divert all of your guns into one target. If you shoot multiple things, you can choose one of those to get the reroll wound rolls into. But if your Hecaton Land Fortress picked up the unit that was closest to you, but shot something else, you put the judgment token on whatever, right, to get the Hecaton Land Fortress to +1 to hit. It picks up that unit. Now the thing that your Hecaton Land Fortress probably shot that is the next closest or the closest after that, then the unit that came out of this is now getting reroll hits and +1 AP without needing a judgment token spent or needing to factor in more bullshit because your Hecaton Land Fortress already picked up the thing that was previously too close to you. Now, that's a niche scenario, but it's possible. Also, to the point of maybe you take calls and Hearthkin warriors to fill a land fortress with full models. because you will be taking possibly 5s of Hearthguard to put them into a land fortress if you want the reroll wounds because they have to disembark. Now, it is cheaper by 10 points mathematically, right? Or 20 technically, whatever. To take them in 5s because they made that change instead of like the full 10. But I don't know. You already don't have too many models in Votann, so is what it is. Then Herncure Pioneers. Again, as a reminder, it just says a Votann model that can get the reroll hits. So the Pioneers actually have a pretty decent starting strike, an alpha strike per se, but not like the greatest. Either way, um, with the Pioneers getting Scouts 9 and the fact to uppy downy per se, you have Hylas rotary cannons, sustained hits 1, 6 attacks per model, ion beamers with sustained hits D3, 18 inches, 3 attacks per model. You can have 2 of these and a max of 6 and a max unit of Herncure Pioneers, as well as ignoring cover. So there's your +1 AP, so to speak. And with the roll bar searchlight, this would be the +1 to hit if they are stealth, so you don't necessarily have to just undo that one for a judgment token, but if there is a judgment token in play, you just get +1 hit straight up at that point because it will all even out. But the fact of the matter remains, 6 models with 6 attacks, 36, I said that backwards, but 36 attacks, sustained hits 1, re-rolling hits. Yeah, that'd be nice. Or, I take that back, not 6. It would have to be 12 because you can only get 2. But, 12 here, 6 here, then it'd be the sustained from the rerolls with Herncure Pioneers. So a little bit more tasty. Brocare Ironmaster, ranged attacks are +1 to hit, so you're not going to be missing your judgment tokens anyway. Probably into Thunderkin. I'm still trying to figure out which one works most often in the most optimal sense. I think I'm leaning towards the bolt cannon, but for 36 inches, sustained hits 1, 3 attacks per model. All the shebang. You're getting reroll hit rolls of 1, closest target. Still not the AP, but reroll hits. SP conversion beamer, conversion crits on 4s, right? Sustained hits D3. 6 models. Again, I don't know where the trade-off begins for these, but I think bolt cannons might be better for longer. At 36 inches, longer range, sustained hits 1, more attacks. I think it edges out with bolt cannon, but somebody else, if somebody wants to run the math, I'd love to hear it. And Sagittarius, you're bringing them as well. Scout 6, they have their own. You don't know what I'm saying. Sustained hits, rerolls, rerolls. So, well, Hearthband at first glance doesn't look amazing and is like, well, where's all my judgment tokens? This gives you, hey, you don't need them because you don't need to wound because you're rerolling with lethals. In the instances of call, right? And then if you're not bringing call, you're bringing probably more vehicles / mounted, right? To offset that small range anyway. And when you do get into combat, you now have shit with AP 3 lethals getting in the fucking way and fucking shit up. Re-rolling hits. So, yeah, a lot of it comes down to call, TODR, take call. Quake multi-generator. This one even gets better, in my opinion, at 15 points. Bastion Shield is still okay. Iron Sky, still not that high. And High Call is still too expensive, in my opinion. I think it's still a bit too expensive. But I now see why they were like, hey, hint, hint, call. You want to take calls. You're taking calls. You're not taking Grimnir, so to speak, or Iron Hero champions too much. Like, you can, but they said, hint, hint, calls. You could get reroll charges if you want. You can get some mortal wounds in there if you would like as well. You get AP on those bad boys as well. Fine, but cough, cough, coughs. So, yeah. If you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.